All right, welcome back to the Artist Connection podcast. This is Matt Kasar with a very special friend and returning guest, Law. Welcome, sir.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thank you. Glad to be here once again.
Boy, if you're on here anymore, you're going to become a co-host. I'm going to have to pay you, maybe.
That's funny. One of my fans was saying that. They were just like, "You're always on that guy's podcast." So I just I said, "Hey, man, good people, good energy." So that's what it's all about.
Oh,
Not too many forms that would allow me to speak freely and totally express myself just the way I need to and the way I want to. So again, thank you as always for having me on the show.
of course. I knew it the day I met you. I knew it the day I saw you playing that Telecaster that we'd be a good fit. So it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
So what's new? Summer's here. The time is right for dancing in the street, as the song goes. What are you up to?
Dancing in the street and grinding on my feet. It's been one thing. Every year brings about a mixed emotions. We all go through it. And this has been an incredible, busy summer for me so far. I mean, summer's not officially till the 21st of June.
Yeah.
But, when it started getting hot, which it did start around middle of May.
It sure did.
Thank God, to kind of give me an early indication of what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
So I just finished 15 shows for the whole month of May.
Wow.
So, yeah, just been a lot of grind work, putting in the extra time and the extra effort and keeping it up, man. You gotta keep your body trained, and keep your spiritual and your mental and your emotional as well as your physical all working together, because when you get out on that stage, it's a whole nother ball game. So if you ain't doing cardio like me, or if you ain't practicing your craft or staying on top as much as possible, you in for a rude awakening when you get on stage. So.
Well, you had a few shows in a row, right? I mean, you normally do that, but they were pretty tight across a weekend, weren't they? You had a few.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, when me and you were supposed to do the other interview, I didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to link up because that week was so.
I saw that.
Crazy,
yep.
and a lot of stuff was going on, and and between the shows and dealing with the loss of BB King. And then I was recording the game the night before we actually got the news. So it just was, it was a lot going on in that whole month and even before that.
BB King is one of those guys that you just always, no matter how old he got, you just always expected him to always be there. Like he wasn't going to go anywhere. And then when he passed, and we only got news a couple days before that he wasn't doing so hot and he was having some problems. It was just like, wow, is this the way you have to go out? Is this the way this kind of man's life has to end? That was really sad.
Oh yeah. At least I say more so than anything else. At least it was peaceful.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is that I always say this, man. We talk about it so often, and it's definitely a very severe emotional thing because my granddad and BB King were very good friends.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the last time I saw BB King, we opened up for him. I was playing with my grandfather, and we opened up for him at the Westbury Center out here in Long Island, New York. And that the couple of pictures you saw of my grandfather and BB King, I put up on Instagram and all this other stuff. It was crazy because every time I described that moment, I always look at it as, I said, two grown bluesmen talking, because once they got together and everybody gave their daps and their props and we all hanging out, and then once these two started to huddle, we just left them alone in the room, and we took our pictures and we broke out. Just let those two men, have their conversation. It was just incredible. So again, respect the legends while they're here. I can't say it more than enough. I can say it till my face turns blue, but people really don't get it until we lose. That's
right.
why I don't wait till somebody gets sick or anything to drop knowledge about the artist to my fans, or to every now and then include a cover or two in my set list or whatever the case may be. So,
Well, you're always good about that. You're always sharing your influences and what they mean to you, which is incredible. And you're talking about your grandfather, and that's Sam Taylor. And I know his name obviously through my relationship with you, but it wasn't until I started digging in to his life. And I mean, we can devote a whole show to him someday about just his life and his music, but just the amount of influence that he had on some of the big names that we're used to hearing blew me away because I hadn't really heard of him before that. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting to me that there are so many talented people out there from the past and the present that they're out there and their story is out there and their families are out there, but you really have to do some digging. You really have to be into it in some cases to find out about these people. And if you're not, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice because there's just some amazing talent floating around.
It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword because the thing is that, you know, the funny thing with my granddad is that, you know, to, like you said, to some of the people who may not know, you know, he's definitely on the obscure list in terms of that. But then to the people who do know and who has, you know, purchased music by the people that he influenced or wrote for or was a band leader for, it's interesting.
It
you know what
is.
I mean? That's why, you know, and it's crazy because, you know, the 5 years before he passed away, he had just started getting those accolades. You know, he had got inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame with Joan Jett and Twisted Sister and Kids. So he was already among the elite. And then, you know, to see people, you know, that he taught or people that he had influence on, like Leslie West Mountain and of course, you know, all the Rascals, Edgar Bergotti and Gene and Felix, they all call him Dad. So that's, you know, the thing is that, you know it when it's there and the information is presented and then they talk about these things. So, you know, when we were at the Long Island Hall of Fame of Music for that year and he got a standing ovation, man, it was pretty I inducted him, but it was pretty emotional to watch all these elite people that lived in Long Island that went on to do their own thing. You know, people like Shadow Morton and all these incredible producers and songwriters. And they knew who my granddad was, and it made so much sense to you know, to see him get all these accolades, even though he had fought so long for it to get his rightful place. And you know, he was well on his way. You know, it's such a later time in his life, but you know, when you have a grandson who's into hip hop and who does a whole bunch of other music, they should have known that wasn't going to be away too long because that's, you know, I hold his legacy, of course, you know, as part of everything I am because I'm a part of it. And, you know, I mean, even the hip-hop community, I mean, that's the reason why I say it's important because, I mean, my grandfather has stake in probably each genre of music in some sort of way. So, you know,
mentoring Sam and Dave,
props in that.
Mentoring Sam and Dave, I mean, come on, that's just, I was reading the bio like, oh, this is incredible.
Oh yeah, it's all documented. That's the great thing too, because you know sometimes when you tell people stuff and stories, you know people want to try to challenge you, you know, stupidly doing so, but they try to put these things so it's mentored and all this whole thing. But yeah, I mean it's all true. It's all been documented. The very first Sam and Dave album was on Roulette Records. This is before they went to Stax and Atlantic and that whole period where their careers finally took off. They were signed to Roulette Records, and my granddad and my uncle Benny Taylor, you know, was Benny Earl. He adopted the Taylor name after they became a duo. Sam and Dave's style is basically a mashup of what my grandfather and my uncle were doing. The only difference is that, you know, my granddad played guitar and my uncle Benny played keyboards. So they can sing their asses over, they can play their asses off too. Now, Sam and Dave didn't necessarily play instrument, but that whole back and forth, you know, it was very similar because, you know, Sam had the real high in vocal range and Dave was like the bottom soulful growl. Mm-hmm. And that was my grandfather and my uncle. My grandfather was the bottom soulful growl and my Uncle Benny had the high end tenor. So, you know, it's a lot of that. So they wrote, my grandfather and my uncle wrote 3 of Sam and Dave's first songs on that very first album on Roulette Records. And the album didn't do extremely well, but it definitely is a classic and a collector's item now in a lot of people's collections that have that very first Sam and Dave album right before they made the move to work with Isaac Hayes and David Porter on those classic songs like Hold On, I'm Coming and When Something's Wrong with My Baby. But it all started when they worked with my granddad. You know, he was part of the team. And they were still friends to that day up until because Sam was still living. So they were up until my grandfather passed away. They were still close friends. Matter of fact, you probably might notice if you were a true '80s head there was a class